First of all, a very, very good morning to everyone who has joined with us today on a Saturday morning. It's a cold morning here in the northern part of India, where I'm talking from in Gurgaon. I'm assuming if you are from the same region, you'll be wearing your jackets or sweaters and other things. So I think this is today we are having a different kind of session here compared to all our past three sessions that we have done, which have been more on panel discussions and forums to debate and brainstorm. Today, actually, we are going to do a fireside chat. So before I start, I will just mention few pointers to note and keep in mind. Um, I think as you if you are joining this for the second time with Napino Knowledge Series, you would know that we always run a quiz at the end of the event. And you know how to run the quiz, but I will keep giving some updates in between the sessions to tell you how to launch a quiz when we come to that time. Number one. Number two, there is a Q&A or a feedback option you would see on your screen. So during the event, throughout the event, you are free to ask questions on that screen, which will come to us and it will be moderated by me for both the fireside chat and for the session that will be taken after that chat. I will talk briefly about that in some time. So once again, I would like to just inform, if you are watching this broadcast on your browser or on your mobile phone, at the bottom right, there is an option for the screen quality. Normally, it defaults to auto, but if you just click on that button, there should be two options like 1080p and 720p. Depending on your bandwidth, you can select any one of them. I think 720p will be good enough. 1080p will be even better. So if you're running on a stable connectivity like a Wi-Fi or a fiber LAN, 1080p will work better. But if you're on 4G, try to use 720p. That will not distort the voice. Okay. With that, I will get going for today. So Napino Knowledge Series, as some of you who are joining with us again would know, and for those who are joining for the first time, I would like to share that we run this event once every month. Especially after the COVID, I think the best way to share knowledge was through virtual sessions. And Napino Knowledge Series was basically kicked off by the Napino group to share and to bring the people together to understand different areas around technology. We will talk more about Napino Group as well during the fireside chats. But since it is a very large group, diversified group, and does multiple activities, as part of the knowledge series, we don't limit to what we do, but we basically ask feedback from the audience about the topics that they would like to hear from us or would like us to cover. So just for that, if there is a form that comes up after the quiz with certain set of multiple choice questions, where you can actually choose what you want to hear as in the next event from us. So you can make a comment there, okay, for the topic. So, like today, I think we are talking about digital transformation. And digital transformation, I think, is a word that many of us are hearing for some time now. People say that COVID, although it was bad news for many of us in multiple ways. People are losing job, people are falling sick, and so on. And countries are fighting, the economies are going down. But COVID also did one thing, interestingly, very well for the industry and for the market, both for businesses and I think also for consumers. It resulted in increasing the speed of adoption of transformation projects for the industry. And I would say across the industry, across all sectors, almost by 3 to 4 times. The numbers are still getting studied by various research houses and will be published soon, probably in the next few months. But they are predicting that at least every company that was not even thinking about adopting digital transformation for some time, or they were probably thinking about doing it in the next 5 years, has done that now, or were forced to do it. So COVID basically ensured that there is a thought that was coming to every business leaders or CIOs or CTOs mind, that, hey, if I need to operate in an environment where my employees cannot travel to work, so number one, where I cannot see and meet my customers face to face, number two, or where I cannot run the supply chain effectively because transportations and other things are not working effectively, then how do I really still continue to operate, make money, right? So investment in digital transformation, which is the topic for today, does not only mean investing in a startup or investing in a business. It also means investing internally in your own business processes or in your own operations in order to run the business and operate the business and still support your customers, right? We all want to be customer centric as a company or as a business, right? Amazon is a good example of that, which keeps saying that I'm the most customer centric company in the world. But how do they really achieve that even during COVID? Or think of industries in the manufacturing domain, and I'm sure that we will touch upon that during our fireside chat. So, with that, I would like to introduce our speaker or our expert. I think multiple adjectives could be there that can be used to describe Mr. Vaibhav Raheja. But formally, I would like to introduce him right now. So, Mr. Vaibhav is the managing partner of Tessellate Tech Ventures, and he's also the joint managing director of Napino Group. Napino Group is one of the largest electronics design and manufacturing house in the country, and we will cover more about what we do at Napino shortly. He's a technology enthusiast, and he also sits on the board of multiple large companies such as Napino Continental Vehicle Electronics, which is a joint venture of Napino and Continental, VVDN Technologies, which is one of the emerging IoT companies, Napino Control Systems, VVIPL, and so on. Vaibhav holds a master's in management degree from Nottingham University, and he has also pursued venture capital course from Stanford University. Under his vision, Napino has been able to set up the state-of-the-art R&D center to work on some breakthrough technologies in the automotive sector, such as e-mobility, electric vehicle is one of the area which is being driven passionately, or IoT. He's passionate and driven to bring his past experience and resources to help develop businesses that will redefine the technologies of tomorrow. So I would like to invite him on the stage now.
Hi, Vinay.
Hi,
For
Mr.
the
Vaibhav.
kind
Good morning.
introduction.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello,
Yeah,
Mr. Vaibhav. Yeah.
can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. So, Mr. Weber, like before we start on the some of the questions, the interesting questions that we have, I would like to hear more about you and more about what you do from your mouth as well, for the audience to know you better, if you don't mind, sir. Thank you.
Sure. So, as you introduced me, my basic role is as a joint managing director of Napino Auto, which is our parent company. In this role, I basically take care of strategic initiatives to, for growth of our company. With that, I also have a small investment arm of Napino, which is Tessellate Ventures, which invest into early stage companies, basically into digitalization, into areas where Napino as a company can support those particular startups, early stage companies.
Okay, great. So with that, I will be very curious to know, like at Tessellate Tech Ventures, right? What is your area of focus when you look to invest in companies or in innovations, and why?
Sure. So in Tessellate is actually an investment arm of Napino. So the idea to start Tessellate was to invest in companies, in early stage companies, in which Napino can provide strategic help support to those companies. Also, for example, we do a lot of manufacturing support to our portfolio companies. We give them design and development support. We give them a lot of knowledge about how to go to the market, etc.
Okay.
So the
Um,
idea is basically leverage the infrastructure we have at our facility, the experienced, talented people that we have in our company to guide young entrepreneurs who are very very knowledgeable, very capable to grow their companies.
okay, great. Would there be any example you would like to share about some one of the investment which is public in the public domain, if you don't mind?
Sure. So one of the company now has become really grown in the past few years is VVDN Technologies. Uh, they are now they will not be now be valued in hundreds of millions of dollars. Uh, what how we started was a very small humble beginning. How VVDN started, and when we introduced them, when we met them, when we were understanding them more, our idea was to basically see if there are any good synergies. So the partnership actually is goes much beyond the investment. We were the manufacturing partner. There were a lot to learn from each other. Now we will also set up their own manufacturing facility, which is huge now in Manesar and other areas as well, in which we did grew them from a mere $10 million to now maybe a $200 million company this year in terms of revenue.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. So just very interesting point actually. So you said that when you invested in them, they were a growing startup, and right now they are almost like coming to be an enterprise level player in the area. And as I understand, you provided them support in manufacturing, and they were doing the rest of the piece to sell the end solutions to their customers. Is that correct to say?
Yeah, so they do end to end. They're an end to end ODM. They have around 1,500 engineers, or now 2,000 maybe, into design
Okay.
development or different areas, specifically specializing in IoT, digitalization, in camera vision, in AI, in ML. Uh, yeah.
Okay, no, that's very interesting. So that brings me to the second part of the question for today. Like because you play multiple roles and you wear multiple hats, and Napino Group is I think one of the very well known group in India from an automotive focus perspective. So I think one of the theme that we're hearing in today in 2021, at least in 2020, is that India wants to become the powerhouse of the world in terms of manufacturing, right? China is already there. India is slowly growing. So as someone who's so involved in running Napino, one of the largest electronic manufacturing company, what do you see as the future of India from a design and manufacturing perspective? Like, and what guidance will you give to our audience if they are working for one such industry and trying to offer services in the design and manufacturing domain?
So I think India has never been short of talent and talented people who are into design and development, who are into manufacturing. Only thing was most of these things were not happening in India, but by what's happening by Indians in other countries. That's point number one. Secondly, the initiative earlier, the initiative to focus on design development and electronic manufacturing, really, as a country, we lacked that vision earlier. But now under Prime Minister Modi and his campaign of Make in India, that focus, that excitement, that alignment is coming to a larger part of the country. And I think India as a country has all the building blocks to become a design development and manufacturing hub of electronic systems.
Great. And when you mentioned about the initiative of Make in India, we also recently heard about the incentive program that the government launched to support the electronics industry in the country. Is it really exciting, or is it just a marketing gimmick? Um,
So the PLI scheme, which is production linked
yeah.
incentive scheme into manufacturing, is has recently come. People
Yeah.
are still trying to understand more about it. Uh, so it is a good scheme, but I wouldn't say it is an optimal scheme to really drive the growth in this particular area. Uh,
Okay.
Actually, electronic manufacturing, electronic design and development, everything the new technology that comes in with very very small pieces called semiconductors. Uh, though we have certain areas of design capability in that, but India as a country still lacks in producing, envisioning from start the newer chipsets or SoCs, etc. That basically do start the technology innovation. We do have a capability to build on that, in terms of use them as manufacturing components, use them as a base for fundamental design and development. But that initial piece, which do bring in new technology, still lacks in India. And I think a lot of investment, a lot of focus of especially the government, because it needs huge investment into tens of billions of dollars. So that investment still lacks in India, and I think the Indian government should really attract investment from different private companies in India and abroad, to basically come here, invest in those particular areas where we lack currently.
Okay, okay. No, that's I think a very well said point, because in fact we were also reading certain things around component industry, which we don't have in India, like the smaller components, as you said. Chipset, of course, is one, SoCs and modules and components that typically we still majorly import from outside. And hopefully, I think with companies like yours or the similar players in the country, they can start building that industry aggressively and probably do everything in house, like how what China does today. So that's very great. I think a relevant point that you have made. And with that, I also want to touch on one more area because from
If
a
you don't
yeah,
mind, I'll like to add to what I just said.
sure, please.
According to me, the vision of India should not be how to become an ex-China. It
Okay.
should be how to make India, how to use India's own capability and strength to come to the next level. So software, our capability to basically interact in, and it's a simple thing, but it is an important thing to interact in English. Really does help our capability in terms of design and development, our number of engineers, and the brain that we have, the DNA particularly of scientific research in India is really a good strength to actually bring this industry, bring India to the next level.
Okay. No, I think that's very relevant. Compete with ourselves instead of competing with anyone and do better than what we are doing today. No, that's I think that's an interesting point because yeah, like what we have done well in software, now we need to do in hardware or in manufacturing sector. Great. So I think with that there is one more emerging theme in India, which is electric mobility and e-vehicle. And now I think if people are following a bit of what is happening in automotive, almost every company is launching e-vehicles. There are so many startups that have come up in the country, and battery charging stations. We recently saw news. There is a station in Gurgaon by Sun Mobility for swapping a battery. We also saw so many startups, at least some of the big ones. So what is the? I think I have two questions here. Like, what is your personal view on the e-mobility segment or industry for country like India? Where do you see opportunity and where do you see challenges? That's one. And then, given that Napino also plays actively in that and supports some customers. What kind of experience have you seen when you work with your e vehicle customers as well?
So, the basic technology of electric vehicle has been there for, a lot many years. Uh, Having said that, I think a lot of technology, the importantly recently what happened was lithium ion coming into play was a real, something that really pushed the industry forward. And it started with Tesla. I think Elon Musk has, everyone has to, really appreciate what that guy did. And it was actually a rebirth for the electric vehicle industry when Tesla started doing well. So coming back to the EV industry and coming back to your first question, which was the current landscape of EV in India and what the opportunity and challenges are with it. I think it's a emerging industry. It will become the major technology on which vehicles will operate. Going forward from IC engine, a lot of a majority of the vehicles, according to me, will convert in the next uh, maybe in the next decade or so.
Mhm.
Uh, so the opportunity and challenges are the same. I think it is emerging. The word emerging is really important because no one is sure of which technology is mature enough to come right now. There are different technologies everyone is working on, and there are different pros and cons of each technology, and no one is sure which will actually go on to become a standard technology. Uh, what is interesting is a lot of players are emerging. It was very difficult for new players to emerge in an industry which was governed by IC engine, which involved again huge investments, uh, a good track record. Now that the whole game has changed, it becomes it's not a level playing field as such, but it m- makes things closer to a level playing field. From different startups coming into play are not that behind a mature player in a automobile industry currently. So
Okay.
it does give a lot of new companies a chance to become a next Ford, next VW, or next Bosch or Continental in that matter. So that's a opportunity, uh, and the challenge part together. Challenge because you have to keep on updating yourself, working on simultaneously different technologies and different areas of EV ecosystem. Starting with battery technology, the whole powertrain, the motor controller, the vehicle control unit, DC-DC converter, everything put together. I think it's a a good combination of them. Gives a lot of good performance to the final customer. So
Okay.
it is challenging. It is exciting. Let's see how the EV industry shapes up.
Great. And from your company perspective, where do you see, like, what is the main pain point that you hear from your customer when they come to you for their EV requirements? Like any specific pain point that keeps recurring, or you keep hearing over and over again?
So I will not say I'm not talking about the B2B customer right now, but
Uh-huh.
the main pain point of the final customer, the end user who actually drives the vehicle is the one major one is the range anxiety, which is how much
Right.
my car will take me forward from here now. Because you don't have a luxury till now to fill in the gas, let's say in 2-3 minutes, and you're ready to go for another 300 500 kilometers from there. So
Mhm.
it is different over here currently. First of all, the infrastructure still lacks, which is another challenge and an opportunity because a lot of people are working on that. uh, with that, the charging time it takes currently is huge compared to just filling a gas. So the range anxiety is still a major problem that has to be solved. currently. And the second, of course, is the safety. Uh, there are a lot of incident in which there explosion, there are fires that are there. Uh, it is because every electric vehicle now is coming with it's all digital. It's all connected over internet. It is vehicle on internet kind of a thing, and it is
Mhm.
more vulnerable to getting attacked by through hacking, through cyber crimes,
Mhm. Right.
in which a small minor tweak in let's say a motor controller can really cause damage.
Mhm. Okay, that's an interesting point. Actually, in fact, it brings very nicely to our next um, question that I had in my mind for you was like digital transformation. When we talk about there are multiple digital technology, you already touched on one, like connected vehicle, right? Like connecting your vehicle to the
Sorry,
internet.
when if you don't
Hello.
mind, I'll just like to add to what from an Napino perspective, from my
Oh yeah,
perspective,
sure, sure,
what
sure.
we are doing, to basically get ahead in the race wherever we can in this EV space.
Sure, sure.
My personal view have already always rather been that I, as a company, as a person, cannot control newer technology by ourselves. So my idea has always been to collaborate, to co-create, to co-innovate into for newer products, for newer technologies. And that's how what we are that's the game that we are playing in EVs. We know we cannot touch all the aspect of EV, all the different technologies of EV together. So our
Mhm.
idea is basically to collaborate with different companies. Maybe it is mature, maybe it is a startup, early stage company, maybe it is in India, maybe it is in abroad, to basically get those technology which we feel might be right for the market, uh, bring through our own R&D initiatives, or to invest in these companies, get these technologies in India, and maybe adapt those technology in India by our own R&D. So that's the whole strategy that we are playing. So we don't want to work on one technology and only concentrate and control what we can do, but we want to see what's happening around the world and how to bring that technology which is suitable for this country in India, uh, through partnerships. Partnership is the
Is the
uh,
key.
keyword that
Got.
our strategy includes.
Yeah, I think, yeah, technically speaking, co-creation, co-innovation is the theme of this decade. Like people cannot work alone. And you have correctly said, whether it is in automotive segment or in many other industry, people are now ensuring that they can partner. They can be at time competitor. They can be at time co-opetitor. So I think, and as I understand that you do that very well with your partnerships with multiple companies that I have seen with Continental and the other ones, right? So, like when we talk about automotive, right, and what I was trying to touch earlier was that when we see about connected vehicles and when we talk about like connected automotive, that is where the IoT comes into play. And if we talk about digital transformation, right, you have also diversified as a company into IoT, right? So, what are your views? Number one is like, what are your views on digital transformation as an industry? And what are you doing from your digital solutions business perspective specifically?
So I think in any industry, digitalization is not uh, any more a choice. It's a qualification rather. If you are
Mhm.
digitalized, you will be a part of the race. Otherwise, you will not. I think it is one of the main rule of the game in any industry currently. For example, if you come to manufacturing, there's industrial IoT. There's that gives you a lot of insights into into the things that you never thought of, to improve upon your productivity, to improve upon your maintenance, to improve upon the traceability of your product that go into the market. It's a very simple example, but it's very useful form of digitalization that is happening in the manufacturing industry. In health, we all know, the Fitbits of the world, Apple Watch, everyone gives you very good insight. You can have a ECG at home, sitting at home, sharing it with doctors, sharing of this information with the doctors, and then collaborating with the doctors in the health industry is again digital. You're you getting your medicine from the prescription that your doctor give you digitally is again a part of that. So you take any industry, it is, I mean, it is a fundamental thing and not a add-on anymore.
Okay, got it. And from Napino perspective, what are your views on that? Like, how are you envisioning your digital solutions area to ramp up or to come and support the industry? As you said, like partnership is very important. Do you see that happening in that as well?
Sure. So we first of all, I think young entrepreneurs, young mind are more capable of getting digitalization and understanding it more, and are more excited and passionate about it. So we did start two initiatives, in which one was with Indian Angel Network, the other one was with IMI, Indian Mobile Association. Both of them were finding companies in which uh, into digitalization, in which with which we could help them grow in that particular areas. For example, getting your information on, let's say, your genset filled with diesel, how much diesel gets into it, how's the whole genset functioning, the whole preventive maintenance thing around that. A small company that we supported and we grew now into the market.
Okay,
uh,
that's that. Uh-huh.
as Napino, what we are now doing is, we see what we took a step back. We said, what's our capability, what are we into? We are into electronic industry rather than specifically electronic automobile industry. And what's the next stage of the growth for electronic industry that comes in is through digitalization. It is through products like IoT, which is again a huge area. It's IoT is something like a software. It's a C that comes in, and through that we said, how can we contribute toward this growing industry? So our strength was in manufacturing, design, and development of, let's say, hardware, firmware. And that's, when we decided, uh, we'll build on this, we invest in this part, and slowly we'll get into the whole end-to-end solution of digitalization, including digital platform, analytics platform, build AI on that. That's the other part that we are now investing and building. What we have is a basic hardware, firmware design and development capability, with of course a state of the art manufacturing capability that we have got. So that's how we have entered into the IoT industry, so called. And then we collaborate with company like VVDN. One other company, is called Virtual Forest, in which we just invested, and we'll be doing good revenue along with them. So they are into energy saving devices. We started, the main product of their started with motor inverter controller for air condition. So from with that, with collaboration again, we enter a different industry as a diversification from our core focus of auto. And of course that doubling with the capability of giving insights of, let's say, air condition, onto your apps to know how much energy has been consumed, what temperature usually you like to keep, etc. So that bundle with IoT gives a lot of advantage to the customer. So that's how we are diversifying, we are investing, we are growing, and we want to grow.
Excellent. I think that that's a perfect example of uh, uh, where people or where industry players who are in one particular domain, or let's say pure manufacturing companies, growing and diversifying to stay relevant for the future, or any other industry that is adopting digital transformation. I think you have very rightly said that when you think of digital transformation, it is about value generation, right? Using technologies like IoT, AI, and so on. You gave a good example of energy savings using technology which can help to monitor the consumption of energy. So I think with that, I'm getting questions from the audience. So there are a couple of questions which are already answered by you. So I will not cover them, but there are a few interesting questions. So I like to remind our attendees today. Please feel free to continue to ask questions. After this session, we have a session by Mr. Omar, and if we continue to get more questions, which Mr. Weber need to answer, we will bring him back on the stage. Uh, so there are, I think, a few questions which we have covered, but there is one very interesting question we got right at the start of the session. How do you basically do an ROI calculation of investment in digital transformation? Because I think a lot of these companies, including yours, would be thinking that if I have to invest 100 rupees, when do I recover that 100 rupees, and when do I start getting more returns out of that investment? Any thoughts on that, Mr. Weber? How can we do return on investments in this domain?
So you're talking about investment into other companies per se, or you're talking about investment of a company in general into digitalization.
I think it's the latter, like investment in digitalization of a company
Okay.
internally, like for its own usage. Yeah.
So I think the question is not about sorry, it's not about ROI. Uh, for me, like I said earlier, it is it's a qualification criteria now. So you are in the game if you are digitalized. The efficiency that you get out of it, uh, is what the key is. I mean, if you're not digitalized, you're out of the game. So it's rather than growth or ROI, it is a question of sustainability. So if you want to sustain yourself in that market, in that industry, you have to digitalize. You have to like, for example, very simple example that you took in the beginning of the session was, if we had not adapted this technology to to do this fireside chat digitally or through video conferencing, we'll be sitting at home. I mean, everyone in this pandemic could not work efficiently. Our economy would have gone much worse than what it was if we couldn't sit at home and still work, which was possible through a digital world. So it's a very simple thing. Unless you adopt it, you won't be able to sustain yourself.
Oh, that's really, I think, well said. That it is not about ROI. It is actually, it's probably going to become the way that people have to work, right? And if you want to stay competitive or alive and still in the game, you need to be digitalized, right? That's it's kind of the survival question now. That if any industry need to survive, they need to continue to ensure that they can operate with technologies which are digital in nature, or at least consume or use them. So with that, I think there is one more question around the policies. This the question basically is talking about what kind of policies you think the government in India need to implement. Maybe one policy that is very key for the manufacturing sector to grow.
So before policy, and I forgot saying this, which I feel is a more important part for in manufacturing industry to grow, is the attitude and the culture of the Indian companies. We should not be satisfied with 95-97% of quality of engineering, of manufacturing technology. We have to reach, and we would want, everyone should want to reach the 100% level first. So I forgot saying that, so I just added that part. As part as government policy is concerned regarding growing this particular industry, which government is really wanting to do and is focused to do. uh, in the electronic domain, I think really helping a lot of company do investment. So a PPP model of private public partnership model of investing into the basic fundamental needs of, let's say, a semiconductor of semiconductor manufacturing or semiconductor design technology is the key, I think. So if that is done, the that will be the growth foundation for growth of this industry. They have gotten PLI schemes, which is good, but like I said earlier, that is not perfect. So I think a lot of smaller companies in different areas in their own niches also are important for growth, and it should be a more let's say reachable scheme for different companies to be able to get monetary incentives to actually put an extra effort to be able to manufacture for India and for the world. So
Okay. No, I think that is relevant. So, I think with that, I would like to again share with my audience. Please feel free to post your questions on the feedback window. I've ensured that I've covered all the questions, either in the questions I asked to Mr. Weber or in the two that we just covered. But if you have more questions, please feel free. Mr. Weber, any one line of word of advice for the young generation which is getting into digital transformation or anything for our attendees today from your
sure.
side?
I do receive a lot of presentations and decks for wanting to raise funds from different startup companies, digital companies, from young entrepreneurs. So I just want to just quickly share with them my idea about how I evaluate different companies, what's the criteria on which we based our judgment into which to in which company to invest, in which not to. So I think a lot of the number one thing we I personally see is one of the important things that you ask anyone in the venture capital industry is the team. What I particularly look for is how passionate is that person in the problem that he is or his company is solving. I mean, if the passion is only to become big in whatever way you want to, is not the answer for me. It is the answer should be that I am passionate about this particular industry, about this particular problem, and then he should have his own idea of solving that problem. So that is very important, and you should not. For me, pedigree into the industry is not that important. It is identifying what everyone, or what the consumer would actually want, and what the exact problem that the consumer is wanting to get solved. So that's the primary basic I would like to you know give my insight
Great.
into problems.
No, I think that is very relevant. It's all about the team and the passion of the person, basically to do what they are trying to do, not just to, out there to make money. So if that is money always follows. I think you have rightly said it. Like if you do an amazing job at what you're trying to solve, money follows. There is one more question.
Sorry,
Okay,
one
you have.
more point.
Yeah.
Yeah, one more point was it, what really I like about the people I invest in is their acknowledgement to the gaps that they have in their company, in themselves. the identification of the gaps that you see in yourself, in your company, that needs to get filled, is actually the first step of getting those the problem solved. So the identification by that person in their company, in themselves, is another important part that a lot of people miss in conveying to different funds.
Okay. So, by the way, there is one more question that just came in, relevant to what you do at Napino from an EMS service perspective for your customers, right? How do you compete with EMS players from China who most of the time would have price advantage per unit? Cost of the hardware will typically be low from a manufacturer or an EMS company in China compared to India. Any thoughts on that?
So that's a very very relevant question. So as of now, cost wise, it is very difficult for Indian companies to compete with China. uh, what How we can add more value is through doing more basic design and development work. uh, Number one is that, because if you only do manufacturing plain simple, you will always lag behind than those foreign companies that we are talking about. That's point number one. Point number two is your how fast you could turn around different let's say a prototype comes in, how fast you could convert a concept that a person brings in, or a design that person brings into a prototype and then into manufacturing, is another very important area in which our competitive advantage can come in.
Okay. Okay.
Fast
So
turnaround
I think.
of giving a physical a physical product from let's say soft design and drawings from that.
Okay, so basically you're saying that instead of just looking at price competition, what other value addition can we bring, especially in lead time or quick agile way of working to give customer what they need, right? And you already covered that we do have a very good talent when it comes to design and research in India already, right? Whether it is design and research on the application layer or whether it is on the hardware layer. So why not take advantage of that? And instead of like doing what they are doing, as you earlier said, let's not compete with them, let's do better what we can do with our strength in the country and capabilities. So I think with that, Mr. Weber, I think I would like to thank you for your time today, but please stay with us in the green room
Sure.
while we cover the next speaker. I'm sure there are questions popping up for a very interesting topic that we have done so far, but we would like to thank you once again for your time. And with that, I would introduce our next speaker for the day. So I think when we talk about digital transformation or let's say energy management or like connected appliances or things like that, right? We always think about various use cases as a consumer, right? If you remember that Mr. Weber covered one of their investment that they made in a company called as Virtual Forest. So we thought that why not in a fireside chat invite them and hear from them, uh, both from what they are doing, what they think is happening in the industry, and how I think they are collaborating with Napino in terms of their requirements, right? So Omar Basit is our next speaker. To introduce Mr. Omar, he's the co-founder and CEO of Virtual Forest. He's also a serial entrepreneur who has the advantage of analyzing a business with multi-industrial point of view. An engineer by training and a natural problem solver, he has venture experience in multiple industries like hospitality, media, manufacturing, and R&D. Prior to this venture, he headed an electronic component manufacturing company, Solid State Systems Private Limited. And after helping that company achieve scale in the Indian and export market, he successfully exited the firm by selling his shareholding to an external investor. He also has extensive experience in digital media, retail, and hospitality. having helped build ventures in all of these verticals. Um, as well, Omar has a keen interest in fitness and mixed martial art. Wow, I'm really interested to hear this. I don't hear a martial arts guy coming on my panel normally. Very exciting. And he has competed in amateur fights internationally. He's also a fantastic supporter of Chelsea Football Club and an avid gamer. So, with that, I would like to invite Mr. Omar on the stage, someone with so much versatility. Omar, if you don't mind, if I ask any question which you don't like, please don't hit me. I know you're a martial art player. So, with that, over to you, Mr. Omar, to take us through what you guys are doing at Virtual Forest and your partnership with Napino Group as well. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for the introduction, Vinay, and thank you, Vaibhav, for the insightful discussion thus far. So the theme for today's discussion is digital transformation, and like you guys have rightly discussed on the panel that most people view digital transformation mainly from a human interface point of view, whether it's through connected devices or information gathering and reporting, etc. But digitization also stems from much more core principle, and that's actually where we started off, and that is to aid the electrification of various applications. And the application that we are working on is rotating machinery, anything that has a motor in it. So with that background, let me load up my screen and run through a small presentation about Virtual Forest, what we do, the problems we're trying to solve, and how we work with the Pino. So is my screen visible?
It will show up. Yeah, it's just loading up. Yeah. Can you put in the PPT mode? Yeah, I think.
Yes, here
Great.
we go.
Yep. We can see it
Right.
fine.
So we're Virtual Forest, and we're trying to solve a very, very core problem, and that's the problem with the electricity supply chain and usage of energy. So for every unit of energy that's consumed at source, whether it's coal, natural gas, oil, and other forms of energy generation, only 38 of 100 units, only 38 units enter the transmission lines, and only 36 units reach the end user. So that means for every unit consumed at source, I'm sorry, every unit consumed at end, 2.5 units are used at source. And for every single unit of energy that we consume at home, that's approximately 1 kg of CO2 released into the atmosphere in India. And of all of the energy that we consume in our homes, 65% of this energy consumption is from rotating machinery. So that's appliances like ceiling fans, air conditioners, refrigerators, water pumps. So for every 100 units of energy that's used at source, 23.5 units are consumed by motors in people's homes. So we're trying to attack this problem by making home appliances and rotating machinery more energy efficient, and this has huge benefits across stakeholders. Of course, reduced energy to people at home, much lower carbon emissions, and on a national level, reduced generation and transmission burden. So we exist to make rotating machinery more efficient and help our customers save money while reducing emissions. So the particular technology and the digitization that I'm talking about is actually the digitization of speed control of motors. This helps improve efficiency. Currently most motors have fixed speed, and in the and for them to modify their speed, they need to use mechanical methods like gearboxes, and that is now being digitized into inverter motor control, and that's the area that we currently work on. So traditionally, for most appliances, I think everyone has seen this, like with air conditioners and mixies and small home appliances, it's either on or it's off. So you turn on your appliance, it runs at full speed, and then once it reaches temperature, in the case of an air conditioner, it switches off. There's no way to control speed, to control usage cycles, and to build in algorithms, digital algorithms that help improve efficiency, that make various performance cases possible. And this is the area of digitization that we mainly concentrate on. Building in this kind of digital control of home appliances allows fine control and high speeds as well. An example that I always try and talk about between an analog and a digital version of a product is your hand dryer in a bathroom. These are extremely inefficient, mostly functionally useless in their current way that they're designed. However, I don't know if a lot of people have tried a Dyson Airblade. This is an example of a digitally controlled motor with the ability to ramp up to extremely high speeds and find motor control to help achieve a use case which is otherwise very poorly served by the current technology. So, I mean, this particular technology is being driven by what we think, and what, I mean, of course, which is definitely the case, the key technology driver of our lifetimes and definitely for this century, and that's climate change. So, by adopting digital control of rotating machinery, it's likely that we will be able to save up to 30% of end use energy without huge investment and with minimal behavioral change. And this is while this does seem like it's a mammoth undertaking to get people to replace appliances or to replace motor control across people's homes, we've seen examples of this already play out in extremely short periods of time. um, of course, everyone knows this graph. This is technology adoption, of how it's very, very slow until it hits a particular inflection point and then suddenly sees hockey stick growth. We've seen an example of this with the adoption of LED lighting in India. So until the beginning of the last decade, LED lighting would languish at around 5% or 10% of domestic lighting. However, when it hit a particular inflection point, it accelerated to almost 85% adoption in people's homes in a very, very short time. And this is likely to happen in it's already happening in a lot of applications that we currently do work in. So the areas that we are helping digitize is, of course, home appliances across the board, from ceiling fans to refrigerators to blenders to air conditioners, of course, and also in various industrial applications like pumps, general purpose motor inverters, robotic motors, and other applications of that nature. So this is where we were able to find great synergy with Napino, and I think this is a theme that we touched on quite a lot during Vaibhav's discussion as well, where it's the age of going at it alone is now gone. The way that our country and the way that Indian companies now reach out and grab the opportunity which lies ahead of them is through collaboration. And another point that Vaibhav mentioned is it's important for organizations and for startups and entrepreneurs to realize and to self-reflect on where they need help, and realize that it's best to, rather than try and build or do everything yourself, reach out to industry, reach out to people, and uh, seek the right partnerships in that area. So we have been we primarily serve the home appliance ecosystem, and the home appliance ecosystem in India is specifically electronics for home appliances in India are largely, I would say, to the up to 80 or 90% imports from China and other Southeast Asian countries. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One is, of course, Indian companies perhaps lacked the technology which is required, certainly lacked the scale of manufacturing, and consequently were not able to meet the price points that the industry requires. And we've tried, and our partnership with Napino has enabled us to meet the needs of this industry. I mean, going up to a company which sells 1.5 million air conditioners in a year in India, and saying that you can supply them 5,000 pieces a month doesn't move the needle at all. So it's important that we grab the opportunity that lies ahead with both hands, and with ambition. And that's how we thought that's how we were able to see synergy with Napino, and them with us, where we were able to bring the technology that we've developed, and join hands with Napino with their manufacturing capability, technology, and scale. And jointly we've been able to reach out to Indian industry, and are able to now start supplying, and start the process of import substitution for a lot of existing technologies. But also, we've now signaled to the appliance ecosystem that it is now possible to develop these technologies in India, and bring them to market in the necessary timelines. Another point that Vaibhav mentioned was utilizing our ability to utilizing whatever advantages we have, whether they're soft skills, even if it's something like communicating in English, to our design and development technology, ability to try and bring R&D concepts, prototypes, etc., to commercialization as quickly as possible, and also to be able to meet the manufacturing needs, the scale needs of the ecosystem. And so that's why I like to describe our partnership with Napino as a virtual lab and virtual factory. And this is our offering to industry, where jointly we're able to provide the home appliance ecosystem with a virtual lab wherever they are. We will be able to develop technologies for you and bring them to market in extremely quick timelines. And we are also their virtual factory, where we will be able to meet the manufacturing requirements of the industry, whatever it may be, and be able to do it at scale and as quickly as they need, and with the kind of flexibility of supply that they require. So, just quickly to talk about some of the applications that we're doing doing some work in, and the overall status of the markets and their adoption when it comes to digitization of operation, and the main areas that we're trying to do some work in are ceiling fans, pump, air conditioner, and washing machines. Interestingly, something that people, a data point that people sometimes aren't aware of. So 25% of all of the energy used in India is in people's homes, is residential energy usage. And of that, applications like ceiling fans contribute to another 25% of energy use. So overall, imagine ceiling fans in India are responsible for 6% of total energy usage in our country. That's absolutely that's a huge number. And it's very interesting that there's a path to reducing energy usage, and hence emissions reductions of up to 1% of total energy used in our country, by just replacing or just by retrofitting ceiling fans with more efficient devices. And consequently, with air conditioners as well, in 2020, air conditioners consume about 13% of residential energy. But by 2030, that is going to be up to 35 or 40% of residential energy will be consumed by air conditioners. And here as well, there's a massive path to more efficiency. And of course, this is our mission, our objective, to make sure that as we grow, as adoption of home appliances of this nature increase, we're able to help it happen more in an efficient way, with as little emissions as possible. And also at the same time, that represents a huge market opportunity that is going to happen. and it's our objective to try and make sure that the benefits of this internal consumption in our country should also be enjoyed by Indian companies, and should, and as is the objective of the Make in India program, the revenues from this growth should trickle down into the pockets of Indian workers, Indian companies, rather than the fact that we're importing all of these appliances at the moment and really not seeing the full benefit of the generation of the market of the revenue that is generated in our country. So currently, efficient ceiling fans are very, very early in their adoption rate. I would say even 5 or 6% is probably a high estimate. Air conditioners, however, are now up to 50 to 60% option as far as efficient inverter driven air conditioners are concerned, and in a short time we expect that to go up to as much as 75 and 80. So this is the key driver for digitization in home appliances. The other area where there is a trend towards additional digitization is in the human interface side. I think one of the first trends that we're going to see in the home appliance ecosystem is the adoption of voice control, through voice assistants, whether it's Google Home or Alexa. And I would say that like a lot of things, people who haven't tried voice activated appliances might think that it's a bit flippant and might not be as useful as possible. But like a lot of new technologies, once adoption starts taking off, I think people will find that the interface is great, is actually very, very is actually quite intuitive, and definitely a lot easier. And we see that being the first digitization trend that's going to start gathering pace in the home appliance ecosystem. And then following this, of course, direct connected appliances, for of course monitoring, maintenance, and consequently moving forward, slightly more advanced features, whether it's automatic replenishment of consumables in washing machines, and of course, automatic replenishments and ordering of things that are in your refrigerator. So these are the trends that lie ahead. The key and the core trend is, of course, digitization of motor control, and that is something which is well and truly afoot, and has a very, very deep objective behind it, and that is to electrify motor control and consequently reduce energy consumed by home appliances. And post that, the next trend will be towards human interface. And these are the two areas that we're doing work with, and that we're working with Napino to really serve the Indian market with. So with that, I'll stop, and
Great.
we can.
No, that's really great, Umar. Actually, thanks for such an insightful take on what you guys are doing, and especially from, I think, I think one important point you touched on is like the way that we need to rethink on how we look at some of the traditional devices or appliances, and how can we, as an end consumer, of course, we look for money saving and convenience, but as an OEM or an ODM that offers them, I think what kind of benefit they look when they look at new latest designs or energy efficient devices. So I think one question I have for you, Umar, is you touched on that graph. It's very interesting one. Fan is just starting up, air conditioning somewhere in between, and growing. And of course, as a country, India is typically a country. Most of the time, most of our places are need air conditioning, especially in metros, right? Other than the winter seasons, which are not too long, I would say, because of the moisture, because of the heat or warmth, right? So, what is one trend you see in terms of the cost of such a device compared to the traditional air conditions that we get? Is it going to be equal? Is it going to be too expensive to afford it? Or is it going to be some kind of an ROI I can see to say if I invest 5,000 more, but I save 15,000 over a period of 3 years in my energy bill, that makes sense, kind of.
Absolutely. So, first of all, in terms of the delta, the cost delta between fixed speed air conditioners
Mhm.
and inverter air conditioners is now really is narrowed quite a lot. I mean, there was a time when it was as much as 25-30% a couple of years ago, but
Okay.
now the delta, stands at 7 or 8%, and that's no longer a huge deterrent,
Okay.
considering that there are a couple more there's a lot more financing of home appliances happening, so that it doesn't move the needle if you have to pay 100 rupees or 150 rupees more a month on an EMI. So that,
Uh-huh.
first of all, is something that's made a huge difference. The cost
Okay.
delta is also now contracted quite a lot. And thirdly, I mean, the fact of the matter is that it's actually a behavioral change which has happened, and which has been driven by how these products are marketed. Um, you know, uh, Advanced technology is definitely a huge consumer benefit. At least is perceived as a huge consumer benefit when you walk into a store or when you're shopping online and you see, okay, this is the new technology, this is the latest model. It costs 2,000, maybe 5,000 rupees more at upper limit, more than the older technology. A lot of people are now deciding to
Right,
you know
right.
to take that call. And so in that sense, adoption of inverter air conditioners specifically is now well and truly underway. I mean, we're already at a huge
Right.
at 65% adoption almost. And also at the same time, this is being driven behind the scenes by the implementation of stringent energy efficiency norms by the government. And it's being
Okay.
ha- and it's being done in a way which in my opinion is extremely intelligent, and is forcing industry to get to offer lower prices. So every
Right.
2 years, the energy efficiency norms for home appliances are revised, and people don't know this, but what you bought as a 5-star air conditioner 2 years
Mhm.
ago is now a
Mhm.
three-star air conditioner. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
so
Mhm.
people are buying more efficient home appliances and not really feeling the cost impact of it. Uh, and so since this is not a hugely publicized change, and the end consumer is not aware of it,
Yeah.
they're not willing to pay a higher price for this, and so which is why industry is forced to redesign to make more efficient. And that's an area now that I'm happy and proud to say that Indian companies like ours are enabling for Indian companies.
Excellent, excellent. I think that that's a very interesting point. And I think with that, I would like to thank you, Omar. Please stay with us in the green room while we do our quiz and the thank you note after this. But once again, like, thank you for your time today, Mr. Vaibhav and Mr. Omar. With that, I would like to invite Mr. Ashish Chintal onto the stage and help us take forward from here. Thank you, Mr. Ashish.
Thank you, Vinay. So, for those of you who don't have much of an understanding about Napino Digital Solutions, I would like to give a quick introduction. So, Napino Digital Solution is part of the Napino Group, Napino Auto and Electronics, and we are one of the leading electronics manufacturing company in the country. We manufacture more than 20 million components annually. And for organization who need support in terms of designing, manufacturing, certification, or value engineering for electronics or mechatronics products, we can support you. And also especially for startups who are looking at support in terms of prototyping to scale manufacturing, you can look at us for supporting you. So with that as a quick introduction, I would like to move to the quiz section. So in quiz, you'll find one small button on the screen on the left-hand side bottom. Once you click on that quiz button, a new page will open up. In that, you will find 10 questions, and the timer will start automatically as soon as the page loads up. And whoever answers the maximum questions will be the winner. And before you, so once you conclude your questions, let me name out the winners of the last event. So go ahead and click the quiz button, answer the questions. Post that, you will also find a list of 3 feedback questions. Give those feedback to us, so that is going to help us improve our events and make it far better and bigger as we do more and more sessions under the Napino Knowledge series. So looking forward to for you to run through the quiz, and then I'll talk about a few more points once you're back. So let me also announce the winners for the previous event. The first winner is Mr. Abrar Khan. Mr. Abrar Khan is the first winner. The second winner was Mr. Gurmeet Singh. Mr. Gurmeet Singh. And the third winner was Mr. Pawan Joshi. Mr. Pawan Joshi.
So Ashish, while we wait for the quiz to finish, there is one very interesting question that came up from someone in the audience. If you don't mind, can I just answer that very
Sure.
quickly?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, sure.
So the question is, like there are you find too many free courses for software in India or online. I think nowadays a lot of companies like Coursera, Udemy, and Academy, but we don't seem to find a lot on hardware side. So I just want to answer that with 2 inputs to the audience here, that if you go to some of the sites now, they are started to offer free courses or very very nominal paid courses, like for 300 rupees or 400 rupees, to learn about hardware design and manufacturing. There are courses on IoT which also touch on hardware design or architecture aspects, like explaining you how Raspberry Pi works or how Arduino works. Also, interestingly, at Napino Digital Solutions, which Ashish introduced earlier, we are planning, and in fact, at the Napino Group, probably sometime down the line, to launch some trainings which may be affordable or almost free, actually, possibly for helping you to understand the world of designing hardwares, scalable hardwares. We will announce that when the time comes, but just wanted to leave you with that. Thank you, Ashish.
Thanks, Vinay. So by now, I hope most of you must have completed the quiz session. So moving on, first, I would like to thank our esteemed panelists, Mr. Vaibhav Raheja and Mr. Omar Basit, for a very insightful session, especially covering aspects related to how India can compete in the space of hardware, and how partnership is emerging as the theme for a collaborative R&D and delivering solutions. And also by Mr. Omer, some applications in the area of energy efficiency. So that was also very, very insightful. Also, Mr. Vinay Solanki, for always being our such a wonderful moderator, and all our participants for finding time over the weekend and joining us for this engaging session and coming up with very interesting questions. Also, I would like to thank our community partners, NASCOM Center of IoT and AI Excellence, LIF and IoT NCR. Many of the members from these communities have participated this event. So I would like to thank the community partners as well. Uh, the next, I also want to talk about our next event. The theme is going to be manufacturing as a service in India. And very soon you will also find a white paper from Napino talking about manufacturing as a service in India. So stay tuned to our LinkedIn handle to grab that white paper. And on the basis of that, we will have a very insightful discussion with some of the industry leaders talking specifically on this theme of manufacturing as a service for electronics in India. And you will also find the links for the social media handles. Please click that and subscribe to the handles if you haven't done so already. All right. I think that's all I wanted to cover. Vinay, unless there are any more questions from any other participants pending, otherwise we are good to go ahead.
No, I think we are good. We have covered all those questions. Thank you so much, Ashish, and thank you everyone once again. Have a good weekend.